Welcome to the Fat Fueled Family podcast, where every week Danny and Maura Vega discuss topics that help families live a healthy and active lifestyle with their little ones, including nutrition and training, peaceful parenting, education, and mindset. To stay up to date, make sure to hit subscribe on this podcast and check out the blog at www.fatfueled.family. You can also find them on Facebook and Instagram at dannyvega.ms, at fatfueledmom, and at fatfueledkids, and Fat Fueled Family on YouTube. Enjoy the show.
What's that?
Oh, this?
Yeah.
It's just my Keto Brick.
Keto Brick? What's a Keto Brick?
Well, Keto Brick, it's an actual brick, which is awesome because it lasts me a really long time. Can't say the same for you.
Nope.
But Keto Brick is an awesome keto-friendly snack that it could be used so many ways, you guys, seriously. But it is keto-friendly, high-fat, low-carb, has really, really good macros. It's shelf-stable, which I love because I like to take it with me when I leave the house with the kids. And it's got no sweeteners, none of the crap that we're usually staying away from. So no allulose, erythritol, corn fiber, soy, any of that stuff that we're usually avoiding, but it makes such a great snack. I also love it just as a treat. I like to put it in my coffee and the kids love it, so that's a plus.
I totally agree, and I have one of these every single day.
An entire brick.
Yeah, everybody knows I like to crush mine up into cereal and have it like a cereal. My current favorite flavors are peanut butter and chocolate peanut butter cup, which we have right here next to us. What about you?
I really love the peanut butter because it's nice and smooth, but my other favorite flavor would probably be toasted coconut.
Yeah, toasted
That
almond
one's really
coconut
good.
is amazing. And yeah, of course, as you all know, we are great friends with the owners of this company, Robert Sykes and Crystal Sykes. And both of them, when this started, they were just wrapping these things up in aluminum foil and shipping them out themselves, pulling all-nighters, and here we are several years later. It's an amazing company, guys. They have vegan options, vegan-friendly options, as well as whey options. So the two flavors that I mentioned are chocolate peanut butter cup and peanut butter, and the chocolate peanut butter cup is whey, and the peanut butter is with the pea protein. So if you don't tolerate whey, no worries. Or if you're on a vegan diet, no worries. You can have the peanut butter. So guys, click on the link in the description of this podcast episode and check out the Keto Bricks ASAP. It gets the Fat Fuel Family seal of approval. Anything else?
No, that's it. It makes a really great snack. A little trick, I will just give one last tip, is if you want to melt it down, I like to melt it down and put it in little molds to make it just bite sizes for the kids because it's a brick.
It is a brick. Get your Keto Bricks.
Do it.
Welcome to the Fat Fuel Family Podcast. I'm your host, Danny Vega, and I am joined by Mollee and Keil Rucker. First, let me give you guys a little bio. Mollee is a nutritionist, self-hacker, and nutraceutical geek with close to 20 years of experience in the supplement industry. Keil is a photographer, runner, hugger. I'm a hugger too. Serial entrepreneur, business owner, and philosophy enthusiast with a master's in education. They grew up in the woods on the western side of the Sierras with a big dog named Big Dog and hippies for parents. They started KetoBrainz a few years back, which is my favorite coffee creamer, with C8 MCT powder, lion's mane, L-theanine, and alpha GPC. It is the perfect combination of acute results with long-term benefits. Welcome to the show, guys.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Absolutely.
Yeah, dude, I'm really rooting for you guys. I want you guys to get to that point where you can handle every freaking order that comes your way. I got an auto ship of 2 a month. I'm at the point where I can't even keep up with the orders, but I'm going to keep it there because I'm just going to start giving stuff away because I really want people to try this stuff, man. So we'll lead off with the question we always start with, and I'll let you guys pick who goes first. But what is the most critical problem you're currently trying to solve?
I think for KetoBrainz, the ongoing and most critical problem we're trying to solve for is keeping up with the growth of the company and keeping up with demand. We started so small, and when you start something out of nothing, I was just thinking about this today. You get a couple orders a day and you're like, oh my goodness, people are buying it, people like the product. And then you get to 10 orders a day and you're like, why isn't it 15? And then you get more orders and it's like, wait, we need to slow the orders down, we don't have enough product.
Turn it all off.
Yeah. We're at a crucial point where we have to scale. So we're we're about to take on an investor and kind of move in that direction so that we can produce more product and provide more product to the people who want it. We don't want to have to scale back on wholesale orders, but we've kind of had to scale back on wholesale orders so that we can get to our, our face-to-face, if you will, consumers first. And it's something we've been actively trying to solve for months, but we have a plan in place that we're about to pull a trigger on that is going to allow us to do that. And we have a number of wholesale accounts overseas that are clamoring for product that we really want to be able to say yes to. So being able to do that will be exciting. So yeah, for KetoBrainz, growth and being able to sustain growth and scale has been huge.
Yeah.
Personally, I just want to put muscle on, more muscle. Really put more muscle on without more fat. That's my personal. I'm going to get it.
Yeah, you know what? Honestly, the problem that you have seems like a really good problem, because it seems like already, some people get into this and they just get really lucky. They start hitting some shows and all of a sudden their whole business is wholesale, and they have to scale quicker. But you guys seem like I didn't even know you guys had the wholesale business you have. So that's still, I mean, the fact that if you can scale that, that's going to be huge, man.
Yeah.
It's almost like, and just to kind of, I guess that's the issue. It's not even really a problem, because we have, at this point, we've got a solution in play, which feels great.
Yes.
And there's just a lot of learning that occurs when you're at this stage, right? Like, we know we need more to grow. We know we need to do more. And it's just always been like, oh yeah, when we get to that point where we need to seek an investor or we need additional funding to keep up, we'll just do that. And that's as much as you think about it. And then you find yourself in a situation. So more specifically, someone presented us before even asking with the situation of wanting to invest. And we were like, oh, so that's now.
We got to create whatever package we got to show them to show them our cash flow and our business plan and all that. Yeah.
Well, and it's like, we're both hyper independent. It's probably in our genes or in our COMTAA.
Oh, it must be.
Yeah, very specifically.
Yeah.
So for me, the whole time, I was just like, we're just going to do this. We're not going to get any outside investors. We're not going to do this. We're not going to do that. He's built businesses. So he's like, sister, there's like a flow, and this happens sometimes, and you have to do it.
You can do it the other way, but
no.
It doesn't have to be that hard.
No. So it's a good balance, because the company is just two of us, and we do want to do everything ourselves. But maybe that's another challenge baked into that initial question, because letting go of doing everything yourself is a challenge when you're someone who primarily trusts your own brain. And if you have a brother's brain or a wife's brain that you also trust, the circle of trusted brains in my head is small when it comes to like handing the baby over, but there's going to be aspects that we're going to have to hand over. And again, is a great problem to have as a brand new company.
Yeah.
So
it's good to realize that the only thing standing in front of the next phase of growth is literally just accepting that we can't do everything.
Yeah.
That's it.
Dude, I'm there with you. I like you hit a point where it's this weird point where you know that you have to scale, but you know that it's going to suck, because it's going to suck for a little bit. And I I'm going to be dragged into it, kicking and screaming myself. So I feel your pain.
Good. Yeah. We're here for you. You got questions?
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
So how about you, Keil? Same deal?
Pretty much. It's Kyle. I'll let you know real quick.
Oh, my bad. Yeah, good deal. Yeah, so now I know. Not every time I say
our names weird.
Listen, I should have known this. I had a professor in college, and it was EI, and she's like, it's Schweiger, it's not Schweiger.
I got to the point when I was at school where I just stopped saying anything. It was like, they're going to see Keil, they're going to see Kiel, they're going to think Keil, and they're going to think I'm from another country.
Yeah.
And so it would say Keil, and then it was like, who cares? I was like, no, it's Kyle. But then I just started correcting him, because it really didn't matter.
They called you Kyle.
Well, no, people like native Spanish speakers, that I'll is a really weird phonetic.
Yeah, they would call you Keil.
It's Keil or Kyle. My buddy. But yeah.
I met him in Peru when he was going to school in Chile, and there was this whole plan laid out where we we were taking a bus to Machu Picchu, and someone was going to be there in a car to pick us up, and they were going to have a piece of paper that they were going to hold up so I could figure out where I was supposed to go. And I saw no piece of paper with Kyle's name, but I finally saw a piece of paper that said CAYO. I'm like, Kyle, that's my
on the phone. And I'm still learning Spanish at the point, so it probably didn't occur to me that I would have to tell him what it actually says letter for letter.
Yeah.
Dude, first of all, I should have known this. I'm pretty sure both of you spell your name phonetically on the website, so that's my bad.
Oh, no worries. No worries.
And secondly, little side note, did you guys ever I'm dying to go see, there's like Peru has like, I'm pretty sure the biggest collection of like elongated skulls and like giants and stuff. Did you guys see any of that?
Nope.
No.
I didn't become aware of that really until I got back. This was in 2000.
It was a while ago.
6 or 7. But I need to go back. Like,
yeah.
I mean, Chile, Peru, I need to go back. I mean, I know so much more now, and there's so much I want to see and get into down there.
I know, man. I hate that. It's like I go places and then I learn so much more later, and then I'm like, man, I wish I could have seen it with these eyes.
100%. It's like, I did not know. I was right there. I could have seen it like 2 hours away or whatever, and now I'm an ocean away.
More travel.
Yeah, no, it's just time to do that.
Yeah, man. So Kyle, look, you've mentioned that you've become obsessed with entrepreneurship and self-optimization. So I'd love to learn more about what you do to stay up to date and continually growing in those two areas.
I read a lot, and it's not like, I think when people say they read a lot of people think it's like, well, what books do you read, or what magazines, or what newspapers? Where do you get your information? And literally, it's the pace of content today is the pace of Twitter. Literally, Twitter is the first place things are going to come out. The issue, you just have to have a super strong filter because a lot of garbage comes through that's completely unsubstantiated. So that's it. Really, is just constantly being aware of what's happening in different spaces. And like, as far as entrepreneurship goes, there's everything I think at this point is to some degree a tech company, and you have to see it that way, because if you're not already integrated into a web easy scenario, then you need to be working in that direction, or you're falling behind, or you're already behind. So even with my photography business, it's the oldest one that I have. It's what I've been doing for the past 12 years. So I know it best. So it's easiest for me to see how to make that transition from being like an in-person service, being photography, and how do I make that translate to a digital space, like a platform? So I guess just generally speaking, like thinking of things as like a tech company going forward.
I totally agree with you. I mean, the reason why I was able to quit my job in the first place was, 2017, I had been my hobby from 2016 when I started the ketogenic diet, and my obsession for all of this stuff came back. I started in strength and conditioning. I was a college strength coach and chased the money, did medical device sales for a decade. I would never go back. It's just, but at the same time, I started to do the coaching, and then I started to do consults, and I started to sell programs. And I'm like, holy crap, I have people in Czech Republic, India, I have to deal with time zones. And I'm like, this can work. This can work. Yeah. Like, and that really, I saved for a year. And I really realized like, this is what it's really helped me. If you can get access to this worldwide market, it's ridiculous. It's not even, the pie is so huge. I will say this, Kyle, I need to pick your brain when we get off here, because I used to have like a DSLR that I never used. It was a Canon, and I just sold it. And I bought, I was dying to get this, the Nikon P900 because of the 83x zoom. And man,
is it
what
kind of DSLR, or is that
it's I don't know. I don't think it's a DSLR. It's a long range, like it's a landscape photography, camera. But I did it because, dude, I see what people are getting, and people are shooting the stars and shooting the moon, and like, it's the most mind-blowing thing when you see what stars really are. Like, they're these orbs, and they're all these different colors, and they're moving, and they look like they're in water. And when I go out, like last night, the moon was like right there, and I can't. What'd you say?
So you sound like a photographer,
dude. But it's weird. I know what I want, but I can't freaking
Absolutely.
focus. I don't know like I know presets and things like that, but I can't get the thing to focus. I know I need like a good tripod because right now I'm using the monopod, and imagine the amount the amount of distance that the camera moves at that range, when you just one little tiny thing, it's constant. So I can't focus.
Your heartbeat.
Oh,
your
I'm
heartbeat will
sure,
change
dude.
that. It's so sensitive that so the monopod won't work unless you're doing exposures that are like relatively short. But anything night oriented, you're doing at least a few seconds or a minute. I've done exposures before we got too deep into digital that were like 2.5, 3 hours long.
Wow.
You just open it and point it at the dark sky.
Those photos are amazing.
F30 or F22 or whatever, and you just let it move. And so I just have to say, man, like you say, looking up and seeing the stars, it's just, I think it's the quickest gateway, it's the quickest access point we have to just to get an idea of like how tiny we are here on this planet, and how what little thing we are.
Yep.
And there's so much going on that we can't even consider.
No.
But like, so the star trail photos are my favorite because that's happening all the time. That's not a special event. That's literally
constantly.
That's us.
Yeah.
That's not the.
And it's crazy that
us.
like they continue. Yeah, like I can look at the stars where they are tonight, and I can come back next year, and I can go to that same direction, and I can literally, it would look, like it was transposed one over the other. It's unreal when you look at that. It's amazing. So
Can you imagine being an ancient person? Sorry, like realizing that for the first time, like, holy shit, that's the same. It's been how long? Like,
Yeah.
I bet I can do something.
dude,
with this.
there's something about it, man. The spiritual side. It's just knowing like the way what's happening here relates to that. It's amazing. And
Well,
what'd you say?
we're part of it. We're part of
Yeah,
everything.
we are, and it's
We're part-
crazy because I know a lot of people know that, but the ones that usually know are the ones that up top. And if more of us knew, maybe we'd have some better insights into what the heck is going on.
That perspective, I think, is often lost. Like where we grew up in the woods, so we grew up in a tiny town in Northern California. And I remember when I first visited, I moved to Boston when I was 20 something. And, I was the California girl with the bleach blonde hair. So the first question I got asked is, what stars have you seen? Well, I grew up in a town of 90 and I'm trying to remember the constellations that I've seen.
Oh, that's great.
I had no.
I see the sun every day. Like,
Well, and I'd reference things like, when you're a kid and you go down to the creek, or when you do this, and people would look at me like I was crazy. And so it was in my early 20s when I realized like what a blessing it was to have grown up in the middle of the woods and seen the stars every night and just been in nature, because I feel like it gave me a stepping stone, probably both of us, to just understanding that there was so much more than just this little sliver of life that was in front of us.
we got it early, I think.
Just being in
we got
nature.
it so early.
And lack of access to nature, too much light pollution. Joe Rogan's talking about this all the time right now, just how, light pollution is keeping people from being grounded because they can't see what a massive universe that we're a part of.
Yep.
And I don't think he's wrong. Being able to see, touch, feel the ground beneath your feet and being able to see what's above you at least helps you reframe all the problems that you think you have. They may all still exist, but just kind of reframe it.
It's perspective.
We're fortunate to be here. However we got here, if you are you and you are alive right now, you're fortunate, irrespective of circumstance.
It's a weird, strange miracle that any of this is happening at all.
Yeah, man. And I don't want to get too deep into this because I could talk about this subject all day, but like, yeah, the interplay between, what'd you say?
I said we could go a lot of directions.
Yeah. Well, dude, I mean, just like the fact that the interplay between star and star, like, there's a lot of, there's a reason why the stars put their name on a star on Hollywood Boulevard. There's some reason behind that. It's not just like, oh, you're a star. No, there's definitely a deeper meaning to that. So, well, let's bring it back to Earth.
Yeah.
So,
Yes.
yeah. So Mollee, you've mentioned that, you don't enjoy being unconsciously whipped around by your own emotions and biology. I agree with you there. What work have you done in both areas that's helped you maintain control in both of those areas?
It's interesting because I think I never really knew what Stoicism was, and honestly, until maybe, I don't know, like 5 to 8 years ago. And I kind of accidentally become a Stoic via the lens of neurochemistry. So with neurochemistry, and I'm not a neurochemist and I'm not an expert, but I've been through different periods where I just, I didn't feel right. I didn't feel good. And as a female, you can experience that very cyclically, like tuning into, okay, yesterday I was fine, today I'm not, what changed? Oh, maybe my cycle's about to hit. Well, why do I feel different emotionally today than I did yesterday? Okay, what neurochemistry is involved there? What's happening to dopamine, serotonin, acetylcholine, and GABA when I'm in this part of the month? And for years, just, we've all had the experience of going through something, you think you're doing fine, and your emotions throw you so off, it's a week or a month or a year until this singular event that happened in one little piece of time has been resolved. And the way I think about it is, other people can affect us, circumstances can affect us, but for me, I can have control over how I respond to the emotion that hits my body. And one of the things, and I'm going to get this a little bit wrong, but basically something happens, you feel a thing. The thing you feel is a special set of neurochemicals and hormones, and they have like a 90-second life in your bloodstream if you don't feed them.
Yeah, that's so important. We feed them.
Right? So it's like, that guy pulled out in front of you. Even though you pulled out in front of someone yesterday, you don't remember when you did that same thing. A minute ago. And you immediately have anger, and you can go with it and you can feed it. So that 90-second loop now becomes a half an hour. Now it's your whole day. Now you're on the lookout for everything else in the world that's wrong. Mm-hmm. Or you go, that's an odd feeling. And then you laugh about it because you know that you have done the thing that the person just did to you. So in thinking through, I was a fat kid, an obese teenager, went through the whole, American anorexia thing, did all, just all of that, tried vegan, tried vegetarian, all of these things. And in thinking through the amount of emotional time and mind space that I spent on what amounts to self-torture, allowing myself to feel a certain way because of a certain set of neurochemicals, like the easiest solution really is the Viktor Frankl quote. The space. It's how you. Yeah, it's the mind. It's that space between the thing happening and how you respond to it. And I feel like I've gained like all of the time that I spent when I was younger being whipped around by emotion or neurochemical or hormones. I feel like I've gained back double that in just how I can run my day and run my life. And it's interesting trying to explain that to people who don't have a solid notion of what living from a place of stoicism is, because they think you're not emotional, or they think you're cold, or they think you don't feel things. Right. But it's the opposite. You're feeling everything, but you're kind of
conscious of your emotions. Sorry to interrupt.
No, you are.
You're more emotional. You're more aware of your emotions.
And you see them coming. And whether or not they're valid. There's an author named Gabor Mate.
Love him.
Love him, right? So when he doesn't call it emotional hygiene, but one of the he's got like these 8 bullet points that I always go back to. And one of them is being able to distinguish between an emotion that's current to now, 100% current to now, versus one that's overlaid on a bunch of other stuff that happened through your whole life. And now the door to that old emotion you never contended with has been opened up. And so this tiny little infraction of, someone steps in front of you, you just opened the door to your entire lifetime of unresolved emotion. So that rule of, okay, am I really feeling this now? Or is this just compounding on something that I haven't gotten back to? Has been immensely helpful. And really, I just think of it as a tool of, I want to get 3 lives in one. I'm going to wake up at 3. I'm going to take care of my dogs. I'm going to take care of my quote unquote real job. I'm going to take care of KetoBrainz. I'm going to take care of my personal life. You can't do that if you're stuck on one little thought or emotion that happened in the morning that doesn't even have relevance anymore. So it just feels like a very functional, clean way to try to move through the world.
It's a predictable, consistent way,
and
which is what your emotions are not.
It does. And I think it also helps me, reframe and like forgive, the teenager who didn't know that she was destroying her health. Like, you don't know, you can only work with what you know. And holding yourself against yourself is never the right way to go.
There's plenty of people against you in the world.
Yeah,
you don't need to add to it.
You don't need
we're the worst
yourself.
ones, though.
No.
We really end up being the worst ones. It's crazy. And I'm going to add the link to this episode that Michaela Peterson just did with this South African researcher. You guys got to listen to that one, man, because she was talking about, it was just blowing my mind. She was talking about, 21-day cycles of rewiring your brain. And it was just so much. She took a holistic approach. She was looking at how all of these emotions, affected things like, of course, HRV, of course, cortisol, but even homocysteine and other things. And it was amazing to see, because what you said is so right. Like, it's my biggest struggle with Stoicism is my inability to want to confront those emotions. Because I lived so long thinking that it was a badge of honor that I'm just aloof, and I'm not aloof. Because when it all comes together and the breakdown happens or the blow up happens, all of those things that I wasn't facing they go whoop right to the front of my head. And I'm like, oh, why didn't I sit with those? Why didn't I just take the time to just sit? I don't have time to sit with it.
Deep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They occur. That's
Yeah.
the trick.
And it's a long-term process. Like, when I try to explain it to people, they're like, well, your brain just works differently. Well, my brain might work differently, but you don't understand. Like, I've got journal entries from my early 20s writing out how I want it to be, and then feeling like I failed because in a week I did the thing again. And then we had the experience of moving to Santa Barbara together, and we had this tiny little place, no furniture, Folgers coffee and rice, like just trying to get settled. And then it was like 8 to 10 years later, and we're taking a walk in this same part of Santa Barbara, and we just kind of looked at each other. And I remember going, oh, all of the things that I wanted to be internally and all of the things that we're working for, like, they're here now. It wasn't magic.
Now.
It was like
Right.
8 to 10 years of like, this is a consistent thing, and you're never going to not have an emotional, what do I want to call
Response, reaction,
Awareness.
or
reaction. They're going to happen. But to me, it's like a check engine light. It's like, oh, there's one there's one that I thought I worked on.
I got surprised
that I didn't work
again.
on.
How did I get surprised again? I'm not supposed to be surprised anymore.
No, it's like, I got this.
You need
And
to
then
be
you
better
don't.
self-assessors.
100%.
We're terrible self-assessors.
Yeah.
First, you need to be able to identify that space between the experience of an emotion it's the awareness of the emotion, because you don't experience it yet. Your experience of the emotion is that you notice it's there.
You felt a thing.
That's it.
Yeah.
You see it. You're like, oh, what is that? And it's in isolation. It's held in isolation from your own identity. So you're literally looking at this thing like, what's up?
Like the passenger,
That's the
yeah.
step.
Like you're the
You do it.
passenger. You're looking at it. That's one of my cues that I tell myself. Just be the passenger. Just look at it. You're not in it. You're looking at it. And people don't understand that, like, the acknowledgement is just the beginning, because when you acknowledge it, it's going to get much harder. It's because,
The magic.
yeah, that's where the magic happens. But it definitely takes work, man.
That kind of like that gets to, and then I'll stop. But like Jordan, like I've tried to explain like Jordan Peterson's concept of what it is to be a monster, because I think that's such a powerful thing. And I have a hard time getting people to understand, like, what you want is to be a monster. You want to have the ability to physically, intellectually, and emotionally effectively contend with whatever comes your way, if it comes your way, hoping that something will never come your way. But being it, again, your body, your emotions, and your intellect, knowing that you're going to be okay no matter what comes your way, because you have that monster that you can bring out who can, do what's necessary to get through something difficult. And I love how he explained that. and I think that's part of it. And you don't want to be an out of control monster. And if you never contend with your emotions and get to that place, then, you're not really wielding yourself. You're being wielded by your own poor emotional state.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is something that I really drill into my boys, like the whole concept of like, a nice man is not a good, or a weak man is not a good man, it takes, it's just the same reason why I hate forcing things on people, because it takes my ability to be charitable away. Like I can't be charitable if I'm forcing to give. It's why I don't like the commercialism of Christmas. I was just talking about this with my wife. Like, she talks about it. Like, I love seeing something and being like, oh my gosh, look, Molly would love that. I'm going to get that for her. But like, okay, it's Christmas time. It's time to buy the gifts, And it's the same thing with, like walking around in life and just not being resilient physically, emotionally, mentally. And, of course you're going to be nice. If you're not nice, it's your peril, So you have to have that ability to not be nice in order for people to appreciate how nice you really are. All right.
There's a
No,
lot.
go ahead, guys. Go. No, I want to hear you guys. It's not about me. Do it.
Shoot, what were we talking about?
You said about being, well, I think what he just commented, it's about being consistent. But I think, when you're able to be consistent in your own mind, it's much easier to be consistent with people. And I think that, I've worked with people for a long time, and it was always odd because I've had a number of people that I worked for. All of my customers thought I was their best friend. And to me, I was there, I do best, ask me a question, let me do my best to help you and inform you. And that's the relationship for me in my mind. And it was difficult for a number of my bosses to understand, like, I'm not making best friends with these people. I'm having like the quality necessary interaction. And it took time and consistency for people to see, like, I'm here, you can trust me, I'm going to do my best to help you. But I'm not trying to like get anything from you. I'm not trying to build a relationship that's outside of this relationship. But again, that I didn't have the self-knowledge to really know what I was doing because I hadn't discovered I was a Stoic yet.
Well, maybe even in California, I think there's a greater tendency for people to be agreeable and just make it very apparent that we're being super approachable all the time. Even if like we're having a serious conversation, it's like, it's okay to say that you understand someone's point of view, but you think it's shit.
Yeah, I love that. Oh my gosh, please, more of that.
Oh, I love that person, absolutely, and be like, I think that's a terrible position.
Yeah.
But like, who am I? You shouldn't give a shit what I think.
Well, and it's
you, and I'm good with that, right?
Yeah. It's the ability to have argumentative debates with people you care about without worrying that everyone's going to feel attacked. We need more of that.
Because you're being constantly afraid that everybody is always going to take something personally ruins communication.
Yeah.
That's why people don't directly communicate anymore. It's terrible.
How inefficient is that? I guess that's my other overarching principle right now is efficiency. In every relationship I have with every person, every job, every project, everything, I'm always approaching it with like, what's the most efficient way to produce the desired result? Yeah. What is that? What does that look like? Emotionally speaking, business, work, thinking, like how much can I get with the least amount of motion? Yeah.
Love it.
Some people might mistake it as laziness.
No, I think it's efficiency, dude. Yeah, you don't want to be, why would you go 5,000 RPMs when you can hit the same speed at 3,000, So
yeah, unless you're trying to go 5,000.
Yeah,
that's totally. It's your game. Yep.
Cool, guys. Well, let's talk about, you're both homozygous for COMT. You're COMT AA, and I want to hear how that has played out epigenetically for you both. Because it's so interesting how I have so many genes and so many SNPs similar to someone I know, and epigenetically it hasn't really played out. I will say with COMT for me, it really does. I've had trauma, I've had a lot of stuff, so this one's alive and well, and the effects of it, the tendency for anxiety, maybe not related to COMT, but just heavy metals, estrogen, all that stuff. So tell me about your guys, and the benefits, because people don't understand, the power of having your DNA read.
Having that information, yeah.
And what's interesting is that, like a lot of things, so I got into supplements when I was in my teens, got into the supplement industry around 24. And over, a series of 10 years of this whole, like, when do I feel best? How do I recalibrate that? Like, why does tyrosine feel good sometimes and make me feel like I'm on crack other times? Why does L-dopa feel amazing now, but now it doesn't feel amazing? And at some point, I stumbled upon SAMe and started taking it, got Keil on it. Keil had always taken B vitamins and noted that they helped him. And before I knew it, we'd been taking, SAMe twice a day for 5 to 8 years. Then I started to really get into understanding methylation. I thought, well, that's really neat. That's interesting. And at some point, finally got our DNA checked and saw this COMTAA and kind of looked at, so many doors.
I got to say really quickly, like, Mollee knows way more about this than I do. Anything I know about
you just benefit. That's cool.
Oh my God. I'm so grateful for this relationship.
It was interesting because
but she was coming at me so hard with like, oh my God, you gotta look at your SNPs, it's COMTAA, and I was like, what are you talking about?
Well,
I have no idea what that means. But I was so excited.
Yeah, and as I first started reading about it, there's some things like that we've heard since we were kids. We're not close to a lot of family, but they would talk about like this, Rucker stubbornness or this, these traits.
Totally. Yeah.
But as I looked down, like all of the potential positives and negatives of the COMTAA, I was like, I understand this particular family member better. Like I could think through the number of family members who I almost guarantee you have those same SNPs and their struggles.
Easier to forgive, honestly.
Easier to forgive because you better understand. Like COMTAA, I think, is a superpower when you get it dialed.
Absolutely.
It's a small percentage of the population in relation to the COMT-AG and the COMT-GG. And it really, to me, it helped make so many parts of my life make sense. One, the less ability to process out the excess estrogen. DIM was another thing I had accidentally discovered. I'm like, my periods are much friendlier when I take DIM.
By the way, I've been taking the DIM that you recommended because I never even, I hadn't been taking it before, but when you mentioned the toot issue, I was like, okay, I'm not going to take something that's going to make me fart all over the place. So it's been working well. No issues.
Yeah, there's only one that like consistently works. And it was years before I'm like, well, he should take it too. So now he's on it all the time.
There's just estrogens everywhere, right?
But
do not need extra estrogen.
But part of the COMTAA is that we have a decreased ability to process out the excess estrogen during detoxification. Right. So so I had started taking, B6, DIM, SAMe, just felt super dialed before understanding that I had over time landed on like the perfect combination of things for what my genotype was for the COMTAA. And, it also helped me in that there are some personality traits that are inherent to having high dopamine all the time that helped me better understand myself in relation to why everyone else wasn't moving as fast, thinking as fast, learning as fast. Like, there's so many fun things. It's like, what's wrong with everyone else? I'm like, oh, you're high on dopamine all the time naturally.
Yeah, like, I get that same thing. I'm like, wake up. I'm like, why is everybody not awake? Just wake the heck up. Like, you want to shake everyone. Totally get it.
But then looking, I'm like, wow, that makes so much sense. And then kind of looking at like people in my life who were clearly GG, who just couldn't keep dopamine in their brain for the life of them. And then, again, looking at all of the things that the COMT does and understanding that my slow rate of processing out dopamine was the reason why most of the time tyrosine is not going to feel good for me. I don't need any more dopamine. And what I was accidentally doing for years, like I knew more dopamine felt good, like right before my cycle. So I'd eat a bunch of raw cacao beans. I'd do raw cacao powder. I would take L-dopa, macunapurens, all of these different things. And what's interesting, it was like my brain knew those things felt good, but they weren't fixing anything because I didn't understand I was already super high dopamine. what I needed was more GABA. So, enter theanine. Theanine became a massive part of our lives once I understood how high dopamine we were and that we didn't need any more dopamine to balance ourselves out. We really needed more of the GABA. So it was interesting because it was like running the genes and seeing all of these SNPs. It was like all of these things that I had dialed in made perfect sense on the back end. It's like, oh, that's why Sammy always feels good.
You had
that's
the intuition and the experience before you got the explanation.
Correct. And now having the explanation, in my cupboard, I have all these things, and there'll be a day where I feel, okay, I'm a little tired, and I'll almost go for the tyrosine. Be like, you don't need any more L-dopamine. What do you need today? It kind of helps me understand how to better contend with other people who clearly aren't at the COMTAA, because I think it's like 12 to 15% of the population. So it's not a ton of us who are, running around with this. But I do also think that COMT, I do think that, this one would be a fun conversation.
It's a whole podcast.
So,
right.
I try to think of it like in terms of evolutionary biology, there's always a reason why genes decided to do a thing or decided to do a thing or not do a thing, right? So we need a lot of pre-methylated B vitamins, which would have come from quality meat and organ meats way back in our ancestry, right? And we've recently, I've been mostly keto carnivore for about a year now, but all of these things kind of made sense with regards even to the kind of diet that my body seems to do really well with. If my people came from a place where there were readily available sources of those pre-methylated, ready-to-use B vitamins from animal products, and I went through trying to be vegan and vegetarian and not eating fat and, all of these other ways of living, it was just another light bulb that the COMT turned on for me. And because all the MTHFR mutations play into choline, ability to use choline, ability to make choline, and all of that then plays into the COMTAA. So that combination of we have all of the MTHFR mutations for not being able to methylate properly.
Yeah, I'm heterozygous and my wife is MTRR as well. And she's like, that explains. She's like, I used to think I was so lazy. Little did I know I didn't have any B12 in my body, it's crazy. But you know what? You made me think of something that I'm like, man, whatever, people are going to learn on their own. Cause I find that like when I really want to get the best combination of focus and not have anxiety, because I do get anxiety with some of these nootropics, when I add Phenibut, and when I do add Phenibut, it's like it's an event, because I know that it's habit forming. So I'm always telling people, like, if I can do it once, maybe twice a week, it's like an event. I'll either have it
we went down a serious Phenibut rabbit hole for a while, because in another one of my jobs, we brought in a whole set of, the actual synthetic nootropics, the pyricetam, the Phenibut, the racetams. And so I called it Spaceman Juice because the story that I read at the time was that when the Iron Curtain fell, the Russians just wanted to study whatever they wanted to study, and they had this opportunity, and this is maybe not even the real story, but it's the one I read, that basically they wanted to make good brains better. So they were studying things that could increase cognitive function in a brain that was already working just fine. And that they created Phenibut for their cosmonauts so that when they had to go out on the spaceship, they wouldn't get anxiety when they were like doing a spacewalk. And then I would always put Phenibut with magnesium before bed. So I called it Spaceman Juice for my sleepy time drink. But at some point I mixed up the scoops, and the magnesium scoop is a lot bigger than the Phenibut scoop.
Yes, it is.
How much did you take?
Whoa, maybe 6 grams.
Wow.
Yeah. So
I think the most I've ever taken is like 800 milligrams.
Oh yeah, no.
And even that is like,
yeah.
You wake up the next day and you feel like you're still just kind of dreaming. It's this like calm quality.
Yeah, it has this
super useful
special quality of like you feel disinhibited for like the first like 2 to 4 hours of the next day. Like, it's like any self-consciousness or over self-awareness is kind of gone, and you are just in this very clear, kind of happy, outgoing state. And now I recommend it to people who are really going through like something very difficult that they can't get past, whether it's a breakup or, just something that no other tool has worked for. You're right. Phenibut is just a powerful tool. And you really, it works best if you use it like 3 days on, 2 days off, or just for an event. Right. But no, that's a tool that we have very much enjoyed.
I love it. I love it. That's like I said, I even, synergistically every now and then, because we have a kava bar, I'll have kava and Phenibut. It's got to be the right situation. Obviously, it's not something because like, I don't want to, you're done, but sometimes I need that, man. Sometimes, I mean, I am 8 years sober now. Haven't had a drink in 8 years. So, probably another part of, who I am. I'm just addictive personality in a lot of issues. So guys, I want to, end this with one more question before we kind of give you a chance to talk about what's on the horizon. I want to hear about the biggest adjustments and responses to everything we've been exposed to since the spring of last year.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to let you go first just because that super affected your business.
Yeah, I guess, again, we could take this anywhere, but we'll stay with the business entrepreneurship track. So as a photographer who shot weddings primarily, coming into, what was it, 20?
Oh, wow, weddings. That's done.
Yeah, it's a trip. But so it was weird for me because like a lot of it has to do with payment schedules, but like I take a deposit, so I have this amount of money to work with until I get the rest of the payment. And I'm getting deposits from multiple people, and so there's money. It's not predictable, but it's regular. So it's coming. So it's like, because it's not regular, you kind of have to pay attention to it. And as soon as the pandemic hit and everything started shutting down, first it was like people weren't booking anymore, so there weren't any new bookings coming in. So that was like, okay. Well, this is going to be interesting. It's going to be what it is, right? But then it came down to the fact where people were trying to reschedule because they realized it wasn't going to happen this year. So it was just hectic, man, for everybody. I feel bad for my couples. I feel bad for
high school kids, man. High school kids, man. I saw so many kids. They were just like, "This is not fair. This is not fair to us." You only get one graduation, man.
That's so tough.
No prom.
It's tough. Yeah. It was just like everybody, you figure out what you can do. And what's, I think the hardest thing is like, before there's any traction, before we had like 2, 3, 4, 6 months under pandemic situation, nobody knew what was happening. Yeah. Even the people who were supposed to know what was happening didn't know what was happening. Mm-hmm. So everybody, whether they knew it or not, or realized it, was a holding pattern, waiting for someone to do something. No, everybody was just like, wait, you got like, so what's next? And everybody was like, well, we're waiting on this person. Oh, well, we're waiting on them. Oh, well, this. And so everybody was just in this stagnant period, I think, which could have been beneficial or it could have been detrimental, depending on your situation.
On the person.
I personally think and I feel terrible for people who've had a rough time with all this. Absolutely. I haven't been nearly as personally affected as this as anybody I can think of. Yeah. That weird period of stagnant time I mentioned was not. It was weird and stagnant for like a week or two, but then all it did was give me more time to think about what I wanted to be doing with the time I've got. Yeah. And that's when so KetoBrainz, shoot, man. Well, we started on KetoBrainz before that. Yeah. But we were just getting into it as we were getting into the pandemic era.
It's like the first full year.
Yeah. And so Mollee made it, because she has so much experience with retail, she made it really clear really quickly that e-commerce was going to be the focus, and it should be. So we built our business going into the pandemic around an e-commerce model. Yeah. So we went into this like
no wholesale,
not knowing it, but we did the right thing. Yeah. I mean, it was going to be a part of the business regardless, or it was going to be the business just because of my experience with tech and the availability of things and where people are going to find things these days. Yeah. It's online. It's always going to be that way.
Yeah. With all of my experience of being a buyer and being in wholesale, like I know what wholesale, it's on my face.
Gotcha.
I knew what I demanded of poor little wholesale companies just because that was kind of what I had to do for the business I worked for. And, you know, there's always the ad commitments, there's all the free product, there's, you know, you make so little off of wholesale. So I was just clear. I was like, we're not doing any wholesale. I've been there. We're not going to do it.
Out the gate, that was the thought. Like, just not even consider.
Now we do have some, you know, most of our wholesale accounts are overseas, and that's amazing. Like, people being able to buy it in other countries is lovely.
One thing we've done, and I think maybe it's just a perspective shift, but when we did decide to do wholesale, it was, let's look at this as a marketing expense.
Yep.
Because we're getting in front of people in prime real estate.
Yep.
You're getting in front of the eyeballs you want to be in front of. You're paying more, you're losing your margin to do that, but in the long run, being in front of more people is
customer acquisition, pretty cheap customer
Yep.
acquisition.
Absolutely. So any loss in margin that we experienced around wholesale was easily justified, because we're like, no, this is just going to bring more people to us.
Yeah.
Wholesale is good to be able to do too, because again, it makes you more liquid. Like you do, like if you can just dump a bunch of products somewhere and just get a chunk of cash real quick,
You can put
then
that
you
back.
can go do something.
Yeah.
You can keep growing. You can
balance.
develop a new product.
Just the balance.
Yeah, it's like everything. You want to be diversified.
Fluctuation.
Yeah. COVID for me has been interesting because I'm an introvert at heart, and the job that I had at the time had already shifted to us working from home a lot. So I was doing a lot of work from home, commuting to LA sometimes. My job was, so basically I was a buyer for supplements and vitamins for a chain in LA. So like the biggest immediate shift was overnight, I needed to source masks, gloves, and I needed to source like pallets of hand sanitizer. Like, there's Monday, here's Wednesday. Every single one of our stores is out of all these things.
The toilet paper wars.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, who could forget?
As a buyer, basically, I spent every day
Oh
on the
my
computer,
goodness.
like reaching out to every possible person just to keep our shelves stocked for the things that people wanted. And I think, you know, I feel very fortunate in that it wasn't, like Keil said, like how I run my life, my little personal world wasn't affected as much as a lot of people's. You know, one of the biggest things I saw, especially in the beginning, was usually I'm the only one out walking my dogs or on the trail with my dogs. And like all of a sudden, like I was on a hike. It was the hike that I listened to, the podcast you did with Jeffrey Wu.
Oh, that was a great one. Yeah, early last year.
I was listening to that and I'm just like, where did all these people come from? Why are they on my trails? Like everyone was on the trails. And then, you know, that didn't last.
I know. I wish that would have stayed. I had the same experience in my neighborhood where every afternoon people were going outside and having conversations. It was more than just like, hey, how's it going? It was really like talking to people. And then the narrative, you know, and the control, whatever you want to call it, changed it, man. The fear, the you know, this nonstop. I couldn't stand that, man.
It was weird because it felt like 2 weeks of like, it kind of like, I have very little experience in Italy, but we were in a small town in Italy once, and it kind of felt like Promenade, where everyone comes out and they just kind of talk and mill around. And for a couple of weeks in my neighborhood and on the trails, it really felt that way. But it did, to your point, shift very quickly, where then it became kind of divisive. And I think for me, I think kind of the biggest discomfort was realizing, as we talked about before we started, just how many people were living from a place of fear to begin with.
Yeah, I still struggle with that.
Just, like,
It exacerbated
it just
what was already there.
It was already there, and now people who were already afraid and didn't feel any sense of like solid sense of personal sovereignty, it was really clear that it was the majority of humans that we were around that just weren't secure with any sort of sense of, I have some control over aspects of my life. Yeah. And I think that was kind of the saddest thing to just sit with.
Yeah, I think it's unfortunate that we got into a situation where people had their underlying fears and insecurities, which we all do. But we got into a situation where there was an opportunity to justify their fears, and they took it.
Yeah.
They said, "Oh, okay,
this
I
is where I
should
put
be
my
afraid
fear now."
It's appropriate. The appropriate response should be." And that, I think,
So, and I think, so again, whether it could be the COMTAA, it just could be the way that I've built my life. But like, I refuse to live in fear of anything because it's not helpful.
super
When is
inefficient.
it helpful?
Super inefficient.
Even if I'm on a trail run and a mountain lion's going to eat me, I'm either going to fight it off or it's going to eat me.
Those are
This is this. And
Yep.
it's just a more functional way of moving forward. And I think I really tried for my life to not change. Like CrossFit closed for a minute, but they found a way to be open. And you know, throughout everything that happens in society, even like I remember when I was a kid and everyone was freaking out about who was going to be president, I very quickly realized, even as a kid, that my life didn't change no matter what the adults were doing.
Praise, yes. Shout that from the mountaintop, dude. Every 4 years, people, and I became a political atheist in 2012, and it was the best feeling ever. And then I got caught up in the spell for like 3 months last year, and then it only
what? You got to be careful. It sucks you in.
Yeah, you gotta. This is the election. This is the one. This is the one when all of them are chosen and nothing matters. Like nowadays, I'm not gonna say that. Look, I know a lot of people get angry because this is such a. It's such, Stockholm syndrome going on where people are so like, what do you mean? It's your duty. And I'm like, well, guys, I mean, seriously, if there's anything that I'll vote for nowadays, it's going to be anything affecting my ability to homeschool my kids, maybe a sheriff, states stuff,
local
changing in my state. Yeah. Anything that I can do to maintain our rights that are given to us by our creator, but man, I'll tell you guys, I'll be honest, like last year, I have no regrets, but it's hilariously ironic that I was saying all these things last year while not living it. And like you both said, it really did expose what was already there, so from a business standpoint, I definitely suffered because I realized like the things that I haven't done and the things that I was comfortable doing were just getting in my way. So, I'm making a couple grand every time I go speak, and I'm speaking often, and then I'm getting paid consulting fees on retainer every month with a few companies, and of course, marketing is the first thing you're gonna let go of. And all of a sudden, I'm like, holy crap! I just lost like 60 grand a year, just like that. What am I gonna do now? Yeah.
Cool.
So, it's crazy because then I went through a depression because I was trying to build something else and I thought it was going to work. And then it was a fitness themed retreats. And we did one last year.
Sorry, this was last year?
This was last year. Like we actually we started doing it and building it in February. It was just an idea until fruition, October. In Mexico, we had 100 people go to the first one. And yeah, I was super excited about it. Like we had 100 people go. We were like, okay, now we're gonna buy 100 rooms because the feedback was awesome. We thought we were gonna have like 250 people this time. Well, of course, what ended up happening, the travel started to get affected. As far as like I didn't mind people telling me like that you can't travel. Like I'm gonna travel if I want to travel. But what really changed it was like you got to take the test. And now the next one is gonna be I'm not going to go anywhere if you're telling me that I got to do something. I refuse your product. I'm not going to take it. I had the thing that you talking about, like I had it. My kids had it, and so, but here we are now, and I've had really good mentors, and Vinny Tortorich is a guy who I really lean on because he's just like me. I'm too stupid. He's like, I'm too stupid to know things. So whenever things got hard for me, I always thought of Rocky. I think it was Rocky 2. He's like, when Rocky, he got big time and he needed to go back and train at his old gym. And that for me, that's doing the things that really put me on the map, coaching, in-person PT. I haven't gotten back to that yet, but I am going to start doing in-person PT again and consults and coaching instead of trying to spread myself in 5 million different areas, because I had to admit that that's exactly what you're talking about, Mollee, living in fear. Because I'm doing this opportunity, because one of them's got to stick. And that was never my approach. If that would have been my approach, I would have stayed, making a ton of money as a medical device rep and then having this, that's my little, safety blanket. But when I quit is when the opportunities came. But then I lost focus on being focused.
It happens. It's
Well,
natural. It's
and
a natural part of this.
It's different, but I've heard people say it, and I don't know who says it, but basically, like, you know, the most successful products are the ones that you make yourself, and you
For yourself.
you created you to feel better about you, and that becomes in this world a product because people need guides, and to me that kind of sounds like what you were saying, like you were the accident. Your evolution of you and creation of you became something that was of critical importance to people who wanted your assistance. And it does just sound like it's just come back to you, like realizing, like, where are my roots? How did I, get started in this?
And what is your favorite thing to do? What do you love doing?
Yeah,
The
that
shit
too. I love this stuff, dude. I could do it all day. You're so right.
That's it. And that's what you should be doing.
I want to work out all day.
As much as possible. Like with the life that you have here, you should spend as much of it as is possible.
Yep.
Making the most of it, having the best time possible, helping others have the best time possible. And then you die.
Yep.
Yeah.
Have a good time.
Yeah, man.
Don't be
Yeah.
Don't be a dick.
Don't be a dick.
Yeah. That's a major one. That's a major life rule. Kyle 1-1. So all right, guys. Well, tell me, it's been awesome, man. I gotta just tell everybody, listen, I stumbled across you guys. I don't read a lot of email stuff. My buddy Robert Sykes put it in like December, and he's like, I've been really liking this KetoBrainz. He put it in his email, and I was like, man, I need to get this. And I had it, and I took it with me. I was doing like a coffee. I was off of coffee for all of January, and then I took it with me when I went camping in January to this little island off of the west coast of Florida. It was gorgeous. And I had it for the first time. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is everything I wanted it to be. And I'm rooting for you guys, man. I really am. I think you guys are awesome. I love the content. I love the, just even the branding of the content, like the way that I know what to expect when I have a lot of these things saved, like autodidact, save that, Alpha GPC, save that, like all those little things. You guys have done a great job, and you're building so much value. So, but I want to give you an opportunity first before we let you go. Tell us what's on the horizon. Tell us where people can find you online.
Yeah, well, we actually do finally have single serve stick packs on the horizon.
Mm-hmm.
That's something people have wanted from the beginning. We're hoping to have those ready by December. I think that'll be, I take my bag with me everywhere. I know people like to travel with it.
We took a Ziploc bag with a lot of it and, a little scoop with us. So this is going to help us.
We took it with us to Mount Whitney in the same form. It was a Ziploc bag, scoop.
Yep.
So we have stick packs on the horizon. We do have other products on the horizon, but we've realized we really, we are still very new as a business. We haven't been alive as a business for very long. And I think the first and most important thing is to get to a place where we're never in danger of running out of the flagship product that people love.
That's number one.
So that's number one. Stick packs are number two, just because it's so easy to just pop in your purse, put in your pocket, and take it with you. And then we have fun innovations that we can't wait to get to, but we want to be realistic about the time frame for those.
Oh, and real quick too, like for anybody who goes to our website and who already loves KetoBrainz, one of the things we're going to do is have a new site built.
Yeah.
I mean, so again, it's just us. This is the IT guy. This is the bug reporter.
I know that feeling. Customer service right here. Customer service. That's the worst.
100%. Yeah. We're doing our best. Like, it's just us too. Like, everything that happens with KetoBrainz is us.
Yeah.
So what we're doing now. So again, this kind of goes back into that growth. Like, if we wanted to, we could just keep bootstrapping, but we're going to make our customers suffer if we do that.
We don't want to do that.
No.
Yeah.
So by taking on an investor right now, we're going to be able to make sure that we never run out of the flagship KetoBrainz product that is just awesome.
Yep.
We're also going to be able to update the site, have a new experience for people, so they actually know how it works. And that's my fault, by the way, guys. That's not.
I think it looks great.
Well, the functionality, like, I understand. Like, some people, I see some emails and people are confused.
Yeah.
And they have
a right
to be.
Yeah,
it's
we're
okay.
working on it.
But anyway, so cleaning all that up, just getting ready to grow sustainably and organically.
Yeah.
Like, we're not going to push too hard. We're just going to grow at what we can manage, and just keep going like that.
Well, and we are still actively trying to get the product to countries where people really want it, that they can't get it. So
shipping has been an issue.
Well, we've got people in Chile who want it. We've got people in Mexico who want it, and in Italy. And none of our current European partners can ship to them there. So we are working on setting up accounts there. People are currently paying the same amount for the product to get it shipped to Australia. So we actually have a partnership in the works that hopefully will come about by the end of the year to make the product available from Australia. So
and Singapore, or like South Korea and Singapore as well.
Yeah.
Massive.
Yeah, it should be really good. It should make it really accessible to a lot more people.
And I think that's the Dom D'Agostino using our product. I think immediately, because he has a worldwide following, I think that's how this happened so fast.
I didn't even know Dom was using it. That's freaking awesome. That's great.
Yeah, so
we freaked out.
But then I think
when we found out, we freaked out.
I know. I was like, "What's happening to the website?"
That was what's happening? Yeah.
It's the Dom bump.
Like biohackers worldwide know Dom and anybody in the carnivore keto space, and I think that
he's just unimpeachable.
He opened a door to us just by liking the product and using it that it would have taken us years to open, because he has the people who trust them in these countries, and he's
developed that trust.
No,
and it's continuous and rigorous. So people trust him automatically.
And the amazing,
well, because he's never been about the money either. That's what I love about him. He's like, he does not.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
He's a scientist.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And the fun thing about that is, it was like 4 years ago, a friend of mine, I was staying in a hotel. I had a work trip that I was on, and a friend kept texting me that I had to listen to this episode of Joe Rogan. And I'm like, I'm busy. It's 3 hours. I don't have time. So over a week, I finally listened to it while I was putting this store together. And it was this holy F moment, because it was the first time Dom was on with Joe Rogan, where he detailed out what was happening biologically and neurochemistry when you switch fuel substrates. I had never considered keto before that, but I was like, how is this not how we're all living?
Why is this not
That's what got me too. Yeah, obsessed with brain performance. Like, people, I don't understand. Like, if people talk about supplements, I'm always like, okay, what supplements? Are we talking about nootropics? Are we talking about, adaptogens? Anything? I'm not going to be talking about protein. I'm going to be talking about anything that optimizes brain performance.
Well, because that's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Even, this is really quick, because this is fun, but so acetylcholine also dictates, how quickly your muscles can fire. And so back to the whole gene thing, I love fast plyometric movements. If you want me to move weight slowly, I have no idea how to do it. The moment the clock starts, I'm on it. I got no problem.
So true.
But genetically, I have the highest possible amount of fast twitch muscle. So I've got
that's me too. Type 2B, mostly type 2B.
But I have a C+ for tendon and ligament strength. So imagine I want to go out and do heavy plyometrics and lift fast, which is
bounding,
horrible for my tendons, right? But seeing that in my genes made me be kinder to myself. So instead of just, ripping rotator cuffs and tearing things, I'm like, okay, yes, you're strong. You like to jump. Your tendons, give them a little space.
Warm them up a little bit.
Sorry, that was just another fun thing that seeing my genes allowed me to go, okay, this is what I'm working with. How do I work with it in a more functional way?
It allows us to make informed personal decisions based on the most intimate personal data possible about us, not some general theoretical mental model about what humans should do or should need based on a basal model that represents everybody.
Yeah, and not only that, that's what allows us to have this world where we live in, where people are just pushing supplements on you, and it's like there's no regard to, what do you mean? Wait, I get it. I need those minerals, but what about the balance between the minerals? What about, for me, I when I first did my first hair test on minerals, I realized, holy crap, I'm low on copper. I need to up the copper. That's why I'm taking copper. Not because I heard that copper was good for me. I'm just throwing 5 million things at the wall and seeing what sticks,
Yeah.
There's going to be a lot of growth. I mean, it's super exciting. Again, everything is just going so fast right now.
It is.
All of these AI companies are putting together these programs that are going to test, that are going to take all of your data, and they're going to give you these recommendations about what you might want to try,
so there is
given your profile.
Yeah, there's a fun one that you might want to play with.
Brilliant.
Thorne has a biological age test. And it's only like $90. And if you did all of the blood tests they give you, it would be like a $400 thing. But what I love about it is basically, you get your DHEA, you get your
We're talking about Thorne, the supplement company?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And does it test telomeres or is that not included?
No, this one isn't. So we haven't yet done the Horvath test where they're actually checking your methylation status to get your biological age. This company, so Thorne partnered with a company called Longevity, which has an AI that's calling all current data on markers for what could equal longevity. So
is Longevity, are they based out of New York?
They might be.
I think I met one of the guys, one of the doctors, because it sounds very familiar, because he was talking about how excited he was to get all that, because there's so much data coming out every day, and the ability to filter out what's relevant. The AI is just so good at processing it, but filtering too.
And you'd have fun with the Thorne biological age test because it basically gives you kind of like the age of each of your different organ systems. And then you can do it again in 6 months. So like I did it after I was 20 hours fasted and I had done CrossFit in the morning. So my liver and kidney numbers came back off. And so when I had a chance to talk to the company, I don't know if I can, can I share? I don't know if I can. Basically, they realized that if you're a highly athletic person, they need a different test for you. Because the liver and kidney numbers for bodybuilders and athletes are always different because you're always breaking down proteins. Yeah. So it's possible that we will see one that's kind of more for an athletic bodybuilding population so that the AI can then give you numbers that are more fit for a super active person.
I need that.
I've
taken transvaginal. Sorry. I was in OBGYN for 10 years. Sorry guys, no vagina here, but I've had to take transabdominal ultrasounds because I'm like, well, my creatinine is always a little bit high, and I've had things that have concerned me. And it's like, every time I do it, there's not an issue. So it'd be awesome to have more granular information for me.
And that, when Absolutely. I saw my kidney numbers, because like my biological age came back as like 8 years younger, but then my kidney numbers came up as older. And I'm like, what is this? So I immediately went to kidney results for CrossFit athletes, kidney results for the kidney. Like I just started and I'm like, oh, and then I saw this one post that was super helpful. It might've been on Reddit, but it was this 60-year-old woman who had been a bodybuilder her whole life. She went and got a blood panel. Her kidney numbers looked like kidney failure. So her regular doctor told her she needed dialysis. She went to a kidney specialist. He's like, there's nothing wrong with your kidneys. You just lift weights all the time.
It's insane.
But it's tough because, so we're getting data, even with Thorne and with the way their AI is currently run, it's amazing. I had so much fun with it. I need to be more hydrated and not work out for 2 days before I do it next time. But to your point, I think a lot of athletes who get these numbers, it freaks you out. You're doing everything right, and here this number's telling you this, but there's no medical model for you who's lifting a lot of weight, has a lot of muscle, and is constantly breaking proteins down. So the whole space is so exciting.
The AI, it's just not smart enough yet. No. What AI needs to get smarter is more data. And that's every customer, every new test they take. And again, it's your personal data. It's your private personal data. You should be aware of that, whatever your thoughts are.
They can have it. I want info.
I do too. I'm totally okay with it. And I feel like if anybody wants it, they're going to get it anyway.
Sorry, we went on a tangent.
No.
Yeah, the whole point was acetylcholine for proper muscle movement and quick muscle movement is also amazing. And that, I use our creamer as a pre-workout all the time.
That's my pre-workout. Yep.
I love it. And
coffee fasting in the morning, it's just like, I do that. And I put a little ghee maybe, or just another scoop of it. And it's like, I get like an hour and a half, 2 hours longer before I need to think about changing
That's
what I'm
me.
doing.
I'm, the MCT in the powder form is also great. Shout out to Dom for that because he was the one who really, 4 or 5 years ago, was telling me about that buffering of and not to mention, the fact that MCTs are so quickly absorbed. It's nice to have a little bit of a buffer there, for gut purposes.
Yeah,
So
100%.
Yes.
yeah,
Know that you're going to be okay when you go into squat is
yeah.
nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, guys, this was awesome. Is exactly what I thought it was going to be. So just to make sure, we got www.ketobrainz with the z.com at KetoBrainz. Any other information you guys want to put out there, go ahead and put it out there, guys.
We're gonna have product available. We're not gonna run out of product. That's our news.
Not running out of product.
So we're gonna have product. The blog is gonna be an amazing space. Everything that my sister just talked about, like the kidney for CrossFitters or whatever, like this is what she does, and she still doesn't understand the value of the work she does to figure stuff out for herself because she's done the work. She's done the AI picture. And so once she's done that, she shares it. It's on Instagram, it's on the blog. And again, if you're someone who does similar things or who is interested in optimizing for the same things, the work has been done.
Yeah.
In a lot of cases. So
there will be more.
Instagram,
I need to update. I need to get KetoBrainz to a place where I'm not working for someone else because then there'll be so much more content.
Yeah. And it just so happens that this model that you guys have is very, very profitable too. I know that's not why you're doing it, but content is king, man. And the type of content you guys have, it's like, oh, let me read that article. She makes a lot
Yep.
What? A shop? What's going on? Oh,
Well, I can buy it right now.
It's connecting people. It's bridging. Just because I've known what a nootropic was for 25 years doesn't mean anyone's ever heard the word before.
Right.
So how do you stair-step people into getting excited about something that didn't even exist for them before, and then kind of be repetitive about it because, I live in a weird world where I study all sorts of random things no one is interested in, but at some point it becomes helpful, hopefully, to other people.
Yeah, I did just want to call out what you said about the Instagram, and I encourage other people to do this for our account, for other accounts, but like Instagram's bookmark feature or collections feature.
Love it.
When all of these little posts, the yellow ones, the black ones, and the gray ones that Molly's putting together that have those super short, clear definitions, save them all, make a collection. So it's like, oh, what autodidact, what's that mean? Or what is alpha GPC or L-theanine? Or
I do that all.
What's nicotine good for? Or whatever.
That's a lot of that first of all, the saving, you're supporting them, you're helping yourself. If you like their content, you're helping keep them in your feed. But on top of that, I have one more thing about why that's good. Oh, people just don't understand how the functionality of Instagram, it's amazing. Like you can do so much, and the save features, the collections, the auto replies. I got a lot of that stuff. Well, it's not because of me. Maura's the one who teaches me, but it really does work well.
It makes you more efficient. So again, it's like there's all these things you can be a part of, and you can only hold so much. You've only got so much bandwidth.
Yeah.
So you need to have some sort of repeatable, effective strategy for like just putting things somewhere where you can find them.
Yep.
Right. So it's like you have all to-do lists or collections, and it's like, wait, I was on Instagram before and I was working on this thing. Go to your collections, and it's like, oh, there it is. I saved that. That's what I was working on.
Yep.
So for me, it's almost like exporting your
brain.
Your brain, you're like mapping your projects onto the world. So when you find yourself in a place where you can do something on the project, it comes to you.
It's there.
You're just,
this
is what
I do that so much. I can't rely on my brain. I have to have the peace of mind that I put it somewhere. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, man, this was great.
You guys are
Guys,
awesome.
thank you so much, guys. I wish you guys the best. Guys, check out KetoBrainz. Listen, I mean, I'm telling you guys, like this is an awesome thing. I have it every single month. I have it every day. I've been singing their praises for, wow, I can't believe it's been like 8 months already.
Crazy.
So
Really
crazy.
Yeah.
time does fly. Well,
thank
thank you guys.
Right on, brother. Thank you, man.